Hey everyone! I'm gonna give you like a minute to hop on here. I'm on my new phone here, so this is the first time I'm going live from my new phone, and it's showing me it's live, so I'm just double checking that we are good and golden, and I will see if anyone's gonna hop on. So, who am I? So I am coming to you. I am copywriter of the week this week, and I'm basically gonna come in here and give you some awesome tips that you can walk away with and put into action. So I am Michelle Ellis, and I'm on the Market Like a Nerd team. And I see Monica's watching. I'm gonna give you a wave, and Jody, and who else is gonna join? So basically, you're gonna walk away with some tangible tips that you can take and hopefully implement throughout the week and kind of report back to us in the group and tell us how it's going for you. We would love to hear what you do with the feedback that you get on these live streams. So every Thursday you can look forward to this, and this is a good opportunity for you to even ask questions if you want to pop any in the comments, and I'm happy to answer them live while I'm here. Or go back to them if you're watching the replay and I miss it. So the three things that I wanted to talk about today, and I have my notes because from New York, I tend to yap, and so I really wanted to streamline this live. So number one is breaking writer's block. That's the first thing we're gonna talk about today. Number two is building copy chops, and number three is busting Facebook algorithms. And the cool thing is that we're gonna do all of this in less than 10 minutes. So you're gonna walk away with a lot of juicy information that you can implement, and it's not going to take a lot of your time today. So with that said, number one, breaking writer's block. So I wanted to touch on this topic because in the copy industry, this is huge. A lot of people that I work with in all different kinds of fields, from coaches to doctors to whatever, all come to me with a common problem, and that's I don't know what to write. So they have an email list they're trying to grow, they have an audience they're trying to build on social media, and of course you want to lead them to your product, your offering, whatever that is, but you're missing the juicy connection piece that you really need to have in place to set your business up for success. Because once you have a natural organic audience that you grow, you can do so many things with that. You can target them, and it's low cost, for paid advertising, because it's your warm traffic. You can hit up your email list whenever you want. You have, a connection with them that kind of solidifies the foundation to build on and even get to the point of being able to ask for the sale. So with that said is, what happens when clients or people in general don't know what to write? You kind of just throw everything out there and info dump, content dump on your clients and in your audience, to your readers, and it's overwhelming. What that does is it creates an overwhelming feeling for anybody reading, to the point where you may notice a decline in your email open rates. You may notice little to no engagement in your social media posts. There's just a lot of things that can come up from that, and I want you to avoid that. So what I want you to do is try to get laser focused when delivering content in your email, to your email list, and also on social media. So with that said, you've got to do a brain dump first. You've got to do a rough draft, throw it all out there, and choose one solid laser-focused topic to deliver in a single post or a single email. Now, I'm not talking about like 5 tips for whatever. That's not like 5 things. It all should be underneath of the same umbrella, okay? So you don't want to talk about like 3 separate topics or 5 separate topics. You want it to be, it could be 5 steps, it could be 3 steps, it could be whatever. It needs to be underneath the same topic. You just want to be laser-focused, because what you don't want to do is make your reader confused in your copy. You want to be really, really clear. Like, this is what the problem is. This is how I can help you fix it. What do you want to do about it, right? And almost everything that you put out there, not, are you having like blah, 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 all these different problems, and here's everything that I do. I'm going to try to explain all this to you. By the time somebody gets to that, especially in an email in a very fast-paced world, nobody's going to read like, a 1,500 word email. They want to read 350, 450 words. They want to know what the point is, and then that keeps them engaged, it keeps them reading, it keeps your email list engaged, your social media engaged, and all of that really sets you up for your funnels, because what you want is to be able to target your warm traffic, but you want your warm traffic to grow and be engaged, right? So we need to make cold people warm, and the best way to do that is to keep it clear, to keep it concise and consistent. Those 3 C's, I didn't even plan those. So how to solve it, right? So we are going to content dump in a draft. We're going to trim it down. So once you have all your big ideas, then you can break them up into, maybe you notice, you have a lot of information that you want to share. You're a very intelligent person. So how many emails should we break this up into? Or how many posts can we break this up into? So really just breaking down and trimming down the information and how you deliver it to your audience is huge in copy. So laser focus, concise, clear, all that stuff matters. I want you to focus on the problem, and I also want you to do a little storytelling. So story involving the problem, and I'll show you some examples. So you want to also talk about the results. So how you can solve the problem, and also how you can do it better than anybody else, right? So for example, one specific problem, if you are a coach, let's say, of whatever industry, whatever niche you have, what is the problem? Can you weave in a story in that? Maybe a situation that you've personally handled. And if not, I've have worked with people who just don't either like talking about themselves or anything like that. Pull in a client story. So a problem, a story, whether it's you or your client, and then how you help them solve it and how you can do it better than anybody else. So delivering emails like that and putting social media posts out like that is going to increase your engagement, your connection, the attraction, all of that kind of stuff, which really sets you up. So what we want to do is laser focus, deliver content, and not content dump, because content dump makes everybody confused, right? So the next thing I want to talk to you about is breaking writer's block. So this is really huge. So of course, I could get into all the things that I do too, and I'll just add those in here, not in my notes. But set the scene, get some music going and to do things. I have like this morning routine. I put my makeup on, I listen to music, I kind of get in a zone. Coffee helps me, maybe, certain juices help you, or tea, whatever. Make yourself really just in that space where you're comfortable writing and you feel really good to kind of release, right? Because writing is a little bit of a release. It shouldn't always be this like batter, to your brain and making it very difficult. It should come second nature to you. And the best way to do that is to create an environment that you can actually be creative in. So that's a great idea to break your writer's block. And then let's see, what else do I have here? So I'm going to give you a challenge to actually, hold on one second before I get to that point. I'm going to actually give you some homework. You have like 3 assignments. And I want to hear about it in the group. So we'll get to that. So another thing, to break through writer's block is to basically jot it all down in a draft, go through it. If you're really facing a really difficult time, like turn on audio and, just release it on, that way, and then get it transcribed or something and go through it. I mean, if it's really hard for you and you're not hiring out for it or anything like that, right? So to build your copy chops, I want you to really focus on sharing stories about your life, and not just the story that's on your about page, because that's like, beating a dead horse. You can only share that same exact story over and over and over and over again. It should often be shared. It should be on your website. It should be kind of woven into your sales pages and some of your emails. But everybody has these mini stories, these really mini juicy stories, and just stories from your everyday life continuing, right? So, kind of like the doctor who went to medical school in 1989, right? I'm sure he kind of continues on, or she, with their education, and things happen since then, right? That they've learned, that they grow from, and all that kind of thing. So same exact thing with being a business owner. Even though, let's say you got certified in whatever year and all of that's on your website and it got you to that point and now this is what you do, I mean, let's say that's been on your website for 3 years, 2 years, whatever. How many things have you encountered either with yourself, in situations, personally, professionally, with clients, that you can actually bring up and, pull into your copy in the places where it's appropriate, which would be your emails, your social media, your stories, things like that, your live streams, and really just kind of keeping your network and your audience in the know of your life, professionally, personally, and just kind of building this connection. So sharing these little mini stories, super, super important. And if you're a little hesitant to do that, start with your clients, as long as it's okay, to share the story or things like that. And if you don't want to give specifics, just nix their name and just talk about exactly what happened, right? And how you help them, always keeping it from problem, to results and solution, and what you do better and best than anybody else in your industry is going to build great connection for you. And that's really what copy is supposed to do. It's supposed to compel, it's supposed to connect, it's supposed to make people feel something, right? Now, of course, when we get to it in different live streams, let's say we're going to be talking about a sales page and things like that. This is all the pre-work, and this is all the continual work that needs to still take place, right? Even while you're driving people to your sales page, you still have to show up, right? It's not like a one and done thing. I'm just going to create something. It's going to look great. I'm going to throw up a sales page. People are going to buy. You need to go out there, especially in this kind of world and in the online world, in this space, and create those connections that we used to do in person like 10 years ago, right? So now we have this awesome world. We can connect with people, make an effort to really show up as you are. Don't feel intimidated by what people are going to think. One of the things you could do to build your copy chops is to not give a crap about what other people think, because you do want to alienate people who are not your ideal client. You've got to, because that's the only way that you can call out the people who you are destined and meant to work with. So to do that, when you do your posts on social media, I always suggest doing like a call out and things like that, which I will get to in the next segment. So your homework is going to be to either craft an email, or you could have it in a social media post. I would suggest an email, and maybe the subject line could be something a little bit like, you don't know me, or you don't know this. Oh, sorry about that. Somebody tried calling. I thought I put my do not disturb on, but I'm still learning the phone. So, so you don't know this about me, but subject line, something similar to that effect, or you can swipe that one if you want to, and just kind of share that story and deliver that information. So do that. That's definitely something you should do. And I'll share with you something real short. My best open rate was over 90%. And granted, it wasn't to a large list. The list was like 700 and something people. And I've created this like little tiny tight-knit community that I have on my list. And so with that said, is I shared something really vulnerable with them, but I let them know from a copywriter's perspective, so I'll just share it. So basically I had found like a breast lump. It was like a couple years ago. And I actually wrote that in the subject line of my email, because really I just kind of wanted to share it. And I'm a writer. I needed to write about it. So I was just writing and sharing with everybody. And I also shared though that as a writer, how difficult it is, and even just as a person, to share these personal things that are going on in your life. But I also wanted to share how I was handling it professionally. So what do you do when you're faced with this huge giant that's in your way of, what's going on, and how you can break through that and continue on doing what you love to do, right? So that was the whole focus of that email. Also, getting vulnerable, things like that, and sharing how I did that to be able to share with my audience. So I had the problem that I was facing, I had the situation, everything that I was going through, and I also had the solution of how I solved it. And I didn't pitch in that email, but that email generated so much feedback. I had emails pouring in from people, not just giving me holistic advice or anything like that, because that's kind of the network I created being a former health coach, but also, just really, sharing their vulnerabilities. And then boom, before you know it, we're in a conversation organically and naturally, sharing about how we have, these things going on in our life and what we're doing about it and what that that did is it just built my community and strengthened my connection with the people that were on my email list. Instead of me just slamming them with like, hey, blah, 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 it was really like, hey, this is who I am. This is how I can serve you. This is how we can connect. So always think about that when you're writing copy. If you're, don't get ahead of yourself and start, going through your sentences and doing all that kind of crazy stuff. Does this sound good? Does this sound good? Just write it and get over, the feeling of what are people going to say or think, right? The right people will fall in love with everything you write, and the wrong people will not, and you don't want them anyway. So don't be afraid of unsubscribers. So let's get to something else here. So busting Facebook algorithms. So basically what you want to do is, when you're doing this on social media, do a call out so that people can see it. So the biggest thing about Facebook algorithms is, one, obviously the best way to bust through them is to do paid advertising. But the second way that you can do it, if you're trying to do it organically, and honestly you should always be trying to grow organically anyway, is to do a call out. So basically that might look like something like, what did I have here? I had, for example, if your niche is like busy moms or something, you might say, to all my busy mom friends, blah, 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 whatever. If it's a woman struggling business, you might say a big shout out to all the women on my friends list who are struggling in business. This post is for you. And then just kind of break it down. It could be a little bit of what you put in the email, if that makes it easier for you, like a little slight variation. So you're multi-purposing your content and making the best use of your time. Share it with a personal photo, not just a quote image. Quote images are good, but I always just call them like filler posts or like fill in the blank, and just kind of throw them out there. The ones that are going to get the most engagement are when you're engaged. So keep that in mind. When you're engaged in your own post, your audience will be engaged in your own post. Homework for this week. I got 3 things here for you, so I wrote them down. Number 1, create a laser-focused email or social media post that offers content without overwhelm. Make it laser-focused. Number 2, share a personal story that segues into how you overcame it or how your clients do, how you help them, how you're the best. Number 3, share on social media with a call out line in the beginning and a personal photo. So that's pretty easy, right? I know it feels like a lot. It was 15 minutes about. So I'm looking forward to doing this every week with you. If you have any questions or you're watching the replay, feel free to put that in the comments, tag me so I can see it, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. So fair game to get some good advice here. And if you're really feeling up to the challenge and you want to share your social media post or your email before you send it and kind of drop it in the group and tag us, that would be awesome. And then we can give you like maybe one tangible tip before you release it to the public. So we are here to serve you. And a big, huge thanks to Jody and Amanda for just creating this awesome tribe here that everybody has, right? So it's a beautiful nerd community of a lot of brilliant, women and men here and who all thrive in marketing. So why not share what you're scared to share and get some good feedback from people who probably are feeling the same way that you are. So I'm looking forward to doing this. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you next week.